Lawmakers are returning today, and Joe Biden's anticipating a letter. He tried to head it off with his own letter. What are we going to hear from Democrats in Washington next?
We've gotten snippets of it. Senator Mark Warner, a senior Democrat in the party, or senior senator in the Democratic Party, put out a statement. It was really soft. It was really squishy, Joe. He just said that we need to move forward. How do we combat Trump? He did not say, I stand behind Biden. He didn't necessarily name Biden in this 3-sentence statement. He just said the president we need to support him and look forward. But he did not have an unequivocal statement that he still supports him as the top nominee.
Well, we've got about, 10 now, publicly or privately, and a big one just landed publicly, Wendy. Adam Smith, the top-ranking Democrat on the Armed Services Committee, says it is time for Joe Biden to drop out of the race. Pretty tough here. President's performance in the debate, he writes, was alarming to watch. The American people have made it clear they no longer see him as a credible candidate. How many more Adam Smiths do we get tomorrow?
There may be more. I mean, Adam Smith may have given permission, if you will, for other Democrats to come out. And Adam Smith is not a headline-grabbing guy. He's not a big tweeter. He doesn't try to get attention. He's a put your head down and get the work done, and is very powerful as the ranking Democrat on House Armed Services Committee. So the day before NATO arrives to say, and he pulled no punches in his statement, to say President Biden needs to step down, that was pretty forceful.
He says, since the debate, the president has not seriously addressed these concerns, and this is unacceptable. You've got a member of leadership here, or at least someone in leadership on an important committee like Armed Services. Do we need to hear from a Hakeem Jeffries or a Chuck Schumer for this to resonate more? I
think so. I don't think we'll know that the dam has broken until we hear from those two senior members of the party. Donors, meanwhile, are kind of threading the needle. They're all speaking on background. No one wants to go on the record with what they think, and they're all kind of waiting because they realize money can't push it. And as you said, Joe Biden was on Morning Joe this morning, and he says he doesn't care what millionaires think.
Well, that's right. And look, a lot of the refrain has been, let's wait for more polling. Let's give it a week, more polling. Well, some more dropped over the weekend, and it came from Bloomberg. Wendy is largely responsible for what we read on the terminal. You're part of a team in editing this coverage, of course. Wendy, this is what the White House is emailing around today.
Exactly.
It's the counterintuitive story of the day. Joe Biden's best showing yet in a monthly poll that brings us all the way back to October. What did we learn? Well,
what I should say is we had no intention of helping or hurting the Biden campaign or the Trump campaign in any way. And we were a little surprised to see this, this showing. This poll was in the field beginning July 1st, which gave people 4 days from the debate to watch Biden campaign, to watch him talk about things, to try to make up for it. And he also campaigned in Georgia and North Carolina the day after the debate, 2 of our swing states. And yet there he is showing up with only 2 points below Donald Trump across those 7 swing states that are critical to the election. It was a bit of a surprise.
So the question will become, is this an outlier or an important marker here? Because we've only heard national polls until this one came out. But there were a lot of other things happening other than Joe Biden's performance in this debate as well.
Exactly. One of the things that may have affected the numbers on this poll is, one, that people may have turned off the debate before it got too bad. A lot of people said they watched, I think 75% of the respondents said they watched the debate. They may have said that because they wanted to sound responsible. They may have turned it off after 30 minutes. Then there was also the other things that were happening to Trump around the time we were in the field. This was the first swing state poll since he had been convicted of 34 felonies in New York State. This was the first poll. On the first day we were in the field, the Supreme Court came down with a ruling that said that basically he had a get-out-of-jail-free card for any future criminal acts he might want to commit while he's president again. His performance in the debate, while more coherent, according to our respondents, was also filled with mistruths and lies and, perhaps to some voters, scary things about what his second term would be. And that all factored into it as well.
You just realize so much has happened in the last 5 minutes.
Right.
It's difficult to delineate. People have so many inputs right now. This is highly unusual, even though it's kind of our new normal. We did see and hear from the president over the weekend before the phone call to cable news this morning. He talked in this case at a campaign office in Philadelphia. Here he is.
Dark Brandon's coming back. He's here. And guess what? The next 120-some days or so, they're going to get a real good look at who Donald Trump is.
Dark Brandon's coming back. Let's see how that goes. One thing we did find in the poll was that double haters, a majority of double haters, were concerned about his performance in the debate and thought that he should drop out of the race. How does he convince those people in the days ahead?
Well, that's what we're hearing from a lot of Democratic lawmakers, that President Joe Biden needs to be out there in front of the American public so that they can see with their own eyes moments, unscripted moments, scripted moments, show him leading. There's going to be a press conference on Thursday evening after NATO, the meeting. And let's see if he takes questions from reporters, if he is able to spar with reporters and allows those moments to happen. If the White House keeps trying to control those moments,
sure,
voters will see through that.
That's going to be the real test. You've got a sea of reporters, as they say, a forest of hands, and no other world leader next to him. He does a lot of bilateral news conferences, not a lot of standalones here. We're talking about the Veep stakes, of course. 1 week from today, we're in Milwaukee for the Republican National Convention. As we await the Veep stakes, what are we hearing about Kamala Harris in our polling? Because people were casting about to different governors around the country and the idea that Joe Biden could be replaced by many, but our research finds that no one comes close to Kamala Harris.
Not close, although the question we asked was, if Joe Biden could not continue his campaign, which one of these people would you support against Donald Trump? And among Democratic voters, which is a slice really all that matters because Republicans aren't going to vote for that ticket anyway, Harris comes out with more than 3/4 of Democratic voters saying they would support her to replace Biden. Part of that, even though she has been a not great campaigner in her time, and there are feelings about her that are legitimate or not legitimate, sure. But also she would inherit Biden's war chest, his massive campaign war chest.
Practically speaking.
Practically speaking. She also has the highest name recognition of any of those respondents. But then you get into Governor Gretchen Whitmer, who today took herself out of the running as a replacement for Biden. She got a majority. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg got a majority. And California Governor Gavin Newsom got a majority as well, although this could also be name recognition.
Yes, sure.
People have heard of cabinet members. Gretchen
Well, that
Whitmer's
means a lot at this stage of the race if you're starting late, doesn't it?
Right. Yeah. It really, really does. So it makes sense that if Joe Biden doesn't continue the campaign, that he turn to his vice president.